The following podcast contains some strong language and adult themes. Viewer and listener discretion is advised. Enjoy.
I'm so glad you said that too, because it's like I always feel like
terrible movies.
Yeah, like
Why?
You're like, I don't know. What was it your fault?
Some. That's a long story.
Okay.
That's for the This American Life. No, Soft White Underbelly edition.
Ooh,
where it gets
Marcolita.
heavy. Yeah, you can just put that wherever you need to.
Love that guy. Really?
I mean, let's just switch on over for that business. Is that what you folks want to see? He stuck a Sharpie in his mouth. Now he uses a cable.
I'm just smelling it.
Hi, welcome to another exciting...
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast on podcast.net.
you can't.
My name's Drew, and
I'm Ed.
And together we're dreadfully entertainablest.
What is it? What is the improv thing where you like do you're supposed to figure out the next word and you just kind of look at each other and you try and vibe it?
Ooh, I don't know what that is. Shoots and ladders?
No,
that's something else.
It's a game. It's a word game. Like all improv is like a word game.
Oh, okay.
And this is a word game.
Is it?
Could be.
But if not,
maybe.
Would happen to
3 cats,
2 dogs,
a white buffalo named Rover,
and 1 cup. Oh, we can. So we're going to have to. I'm sorry.
Why would you? Nobody searched that.
1 cup of Kool-Aid.
Okay, I'll go with that.
That's what I was thinking. Pistachios.
Peanuts.
Were you thinking peanuts too?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Is a pistachio a legume or a nut?
It's in a shell.
You know what? I don't think it's either. It's a seed. It's a seed, right?
I think it is a seed.
Is that where, guys?
This opening episode is going to give. I'm switching so much. People are going to be like, I can't follow what's happening. Welcome to an episode of The Bear. Ed doesn't get that joke because he won't watch that show.
The Bear. No, I'm just too busy crushing it. No, we'll watch The Bear.
You're killing me. You're killing me.
I don't even know how to tell time on this Casio.
I mean, it's good for fashion.
Yeah, it does look good. So what would you like to talk about today?
On today's show, we're going to talk about... I took my daughters, all 2 of them.
Uh-huh.
I took them to go see Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Oh, okay.
And I thought from that conversation, it was very interesting. I've seen a lot of trolls online.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people online, and they're trashing it. Specifically, before the movie even came out, they were trashing it because they're like, it's not going to be... The famous quote, "That's not my Indiana Jones."
Yeah.
Right? And I've seen a lot of this stuff. And it has nothing to do with Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones, any of that.
Sure.
What got me thinking, though, is how much of our culture at the moment is so nostalgia obsessed that maybe they're missing the point of like seeing anything. So like if you look at everything with nostalgia lenses, so if we talk about our like, I can't let my girls go play outside.
Yeah.
I can, but I can't just... When I was a kid, my mom was like, during the summers, like, get out of the house. I'll see you at... When
the sun's coming down or...
Right.
Yeah.
Well, are you going to let that happen now?
Absolutely. Me? No, right. Absolutely not. I think that'd be crazy.
But then I think a lot of folks are stuck in this space of like, well, when I was a kid, and they want to bring that back.
Yeah.
But I guess my thing is it hopeless to say... I'm asking, this is my viewpoint, and I'm asking you if you feel this way, or feel like maybe you can give me a counterpoint. Is it hopeless to think that we're never going to get that back? Nostalgia is gone, and you can never get back to that.
Yeah, I think thinking that you can never get back to it is a hopeless thought. I think the chances of it happening or the world getting back to the way that the world was is virtually, quite impossible, really, with everything that's happening. But can we get back to some sense of community and people coming together and not having to worry about other things? There is hope. How impossible that is evident in the world we're living in now. I think if everybody starts just to care a little bit more about children, and that's a good start. Because I don't.
But see, that's where, not to interrupt you, but to interrupt you, which is the name of our other podcast. But that's just, it's kind of funny. But that's where I personally see the majority of this nostalgia sort of trap seems to happen when we as parents look at our kids and we want to give them the same joy that we had.
Yeah.
Right. Growing up. And I think it's an innocent scenario, but to me, it's a dangerous scenario, because by saying that, like, would I love it if my girls could just go outside and play and catch this romantic memory I have of catching fireflies, or my mom making blackberry
Where are the
cobbler.
Fireflies anymore?
I haven't seen,
right? Because they're running too.
Well, my kids have never even seen one.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I think they're in the Midwest where your people are from.
Yeah. And I remember we used to sleep on trampolines outside.
Oh my God, that's classic.
We would grab, speaking of that, we would grab all the blankets and the pillows
right
in my buddy's house, and we would just haul them out on a summer night to the trampoline. We'd jump around, be crazy. And then under the stars, like fall asleep under the stars. Yeah. And in the woods, you could see we called them, people call them fireflies. We called them lightning bugs.
So there's a whole map that exists somewhere. I wish, again, if we had our magic producer, but there's a map that shows the breakdown of the etymology.
Oh,
right. The entomology. Actually, the terms that people use for lightning bugs, like where they're all called. I think down here we call them lightning bugs, and you guys, no, we call them fireflies. You guys call them lightning bugs.
Correct.
And it changes. Like it jumps even from the Midwest to like Montana. They call them something like more southern sound or whatever. It's weird. There's a weird vernacular.
This might be a good point. Drop it in the chat what you call them where you're from, because sure. I wonder what they call them across the pond.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
They're like
maybe they don't have them.
Maybe they don't. Maybe they have giant ones and they're called fire buggies or something. I don't know what fire buggies is. I was thinking of shopping cart and buggies and how we call them carts, and like down here it seems
it's like the hood and the boot. You have like
I don't know what either of those are.
Yeah, the hood and the boot. The boot is a trunk. That's the boot. I've got to put it in my boot.
I got to put it in my boot.
Why are we both doing this?
The hood and the boot.
We're Cockney sweeping chimneys.
The hood and the
Mary
boot
Poppins.
Sounds like someplace, like some coffee
like you
shop.
To raise your hand.
Yeah, like you're like, hi, may I have like where you buy Wizard wand. It's like next
Don't make
to
fun of my people.
Platforms 9 3/4 is the hood and the boot, which is where you get buttered beer and stuff like that, right? The
so
hood and the boot.
I had a Mini Cooper. So I learned as many.
Don't flex that hard
British
in this
terms
podcast.
British terms. That was pre-children. You couldn't fit. I couldn't put kids in my Mini Cooper because it was only 2 seats. It's not just saying it was a small car. My Mini Cooper was smaller. It was the 2-seat Mini Cooper.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, there's only 2 seats. It was 2 seats in a boot.
Why did you get a Mini Cooper?
Because it's like a go-kart. It's the best drive. Like I like driving. I'm a car person.
Yeah.
I enjoy driving. And driving that car was just sheer joy.
Did the movie Italian Job have any influence? Do you like the movie Italian Job?
They gave it to me free. You get a free DVD of the Italian Job when you buy a Mini Cooper.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's a true story.
I thought you were like, I was like, the Italian Job gave you the Mini Cooper for free.
No, I wish. That'd be amazing.
Like,
yeah. I watched the movie so much they gave. No, but I will tell you this. This is how dorky I am. It was solid black.
Yeah.
And I ordered it from the factory. This is pre-kids. I had we were dinks. Dual income, no kids. The good old days.
Dual income, no kid. Dinks.
Yeah,
I've never heard that term.
I think it's a financial term.
Huh.
So we had the money. I bought the Mini Cooper. It was shipped to me from Germany, right? And they treat it like a baby being born. Like they say, like your baby is almost on it. And there's a stork and this whole thing. But it was solid black. The mirrors weren't shiny. They were dull black, like a matte black.
Oh, yeah.
Right? The rims were black. And the thing that I loved most about that car is at night, I would be driving it. And I'm a dork beyond belief. I would turn on Tim Burton, speaking of nostalgia, Tim Burton's Batman theme song.
Oh,
and
no.
I could actually, it had toggle switches in the car, and I would cycle through the toggle switch, and the lights on the inside of the car would all go red. And I would haul ass down Airport Boulevard and listen to dun, 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 and I would just be driving as fast as humanly possible.
I'm sure like there's some
No,
cops
I
in
wasn't
there.
going that fast.
Well,
I
I'm
mean,
sure the cops
in my brain.
There, I'm like some cop. I can just picture some cop and hearing the music like coming from miles away. They're like, "Are we gonna pull him over tonight?" It's like, let the dude live his life, Just
or it's like I tell the story like, and I was going so fast. Cut to, and there's a cop sitting there with a radar gun, and you hear the music really loud, and it's about 40 miles an hour.
You're not going near. That sounds fun to film. Where it's like you think you're just rocking and being a badass, and you're just like.
But you were so low to the ground, and you were it was so compact and so low, everything felt fast. That's what made it fun.
Yeah.
And so you'd go around turns and do all that stuff. That's why I got it because it's the driving experience of that car is ridiculous. It was so much fun.
So speaking of nerd, here's one of my random nerd facts that I know.
Nerd facts.
I do believe one of the I think the second highest resale value of any vehicle, average resale value is a Jeep Wrangler. Which is crazy. And I actually sold them for some years, and I didn't get it. I just think there's a lot, I love the Jeep community. I support the Jeep community, but I have never understood.
I don't have the canceled button.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
you.
I don't
just
want
like Grand
to
Theft
have
Auto.
it. So
Canceled.
I've never done. But the number one at the time when I was in the business, the number one vehicle with the highest average resale value was the Mini Cooper.
Oh no, when the baby situation happened, and Sarah's like, "Hey, I'm pregnant." It was our second kid. Our first kid, I might have been able to pull it off.
Yeah.
And she said, "I'm pregnant with a second kid." After we both got done puking because we weren't mentally prepared for that situation.
Yeah.
We had a career, and there's a whole series to it. I sold it, and I sold it for like $5 or $6 grand less than I paid for it.
Yeah.
So I was thrilled.
That's good. And then what was I going to say? Hey, Mama, is baby here too?
Oh, hi.
Hi, Mama.
Hi.
We are recording. I can't see her. Can you pull in a little bit? Hi, baby. What are you doing? You see Drew? You said his name all the way over. Drew.
How are you?
But speaking of nostalgia, I'm not sure we want to go back. So we're talking about nostalgia. And it's like, okay, so another fun car fact. You know the most pre-ordered vehicle, as of a few years at least, in a most pre-ordered vehicle of all time? The PT Cruiser.
Oh, the Michael Scott Car of Champions.
The PT Cruiser. Do
No
we
way.
really want to, like, real story, longest waiting list?
You weren't working in the industry during the PT Cruiser, were you?
No, it was like after. And I couldn't believe it because that thing is just, when's the last time you saw a PT Cruiser? Where'd they all go?
I know a guy with one.
Really?
Yeah, and I think when we go on tour, we show up in a PT Cruiser.
Okay.
Wrapped.
I love that.
A wrapped PT Cruiser. They're like the front of it is your face, and then the back half is just hair.
I like that.
Tell me how. And you show up in a PT Cruiser, and people are like, "Oh, that's that Ed dude. He's weird, man."
What if we took the Mini Cooper and we attached it somehow to the PT Cruiser and then made it like one of those motorcycles with the little buddy pocket? Like that's our combo. And that's how we show up. And we get a t-shirt gun. I know a bear.
This just went way out of budget real fast.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we can afford a PT Cruiser because when's the last time you've seen a PT Cruiser?
That could be a really good sign or a really bad sign. I guess we're gonna have to look up the market.
Does anybody in the chat, if you have a PT Cruiser and you're watching this,
that you would like to donate?
comment below or send us an email so we can wrap your PT Cruiser with Ed's face and hair.
If anybody wants to give us a PT Cruiser, I think we could say that we'll come pick it up.
I will pay for the wrapping to get this done.
What is it, AG1?
AG1. Taylor just said AG1.
Oh, no. We're back on
plug.
it.
No, like I guess. Look at me. I'm like gonna try and get us back on track. You okay, babe?
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
They booby trapped.
We're just filming a podcast here, so audio's not important.
Yeah. So we were still waxing nostalgia. You ever heard that term?
No, it sounds.
That's a real term.
It's a real. Would you like to come in a hood and boot and wax me in nostalgia?
It's a 90s word. It's a nostalgic phrase.
Wax the Wax the what is it?
Waxing nostalgia.
Waxing nostalgia.
I'm pretty sure. Let's see if my nos.
Oh, I hear baby footsteps. Don't mind.
Waxing to wax nostalgia, a yearning for the return of past circumstances and events, the evocation of this emotion as in a book or film.
Wow.
Yeah, see, I know language.
It's almost like you're a filmmaker.
It's almost like I know like more than the word entomology and etymology.
Well, together they make endocrinology. Well, I don't even know what that is.
I can't even say it. That's like a brain, some head thing.
Some
with your face. It's connected to your face somewhere.
I hear baby. Do we really want to actually go back though? Is that what humanity is really supposed to be about? Or do we want you said circumstances and events, right?
Yeah.
And I read this and I was thinking, I think I told you, or we talked about this in a podcast before. Somebody asked me.
I think it was a phone call. Our phone calls are like podcasts.
Was it a phone call?
Let's be honest.
Yeah. Well,
we should just record our phone calls.
I was live and somebody asked me what I wanted to teach, and I love history and all that stuff. And I think a much better thing to teach, or a more fun thing, would be hope in the future. History is a great place to find facts, and you don't find a lot of hope when you look in the past, unless you can relate it to fireflies or lightning bugs or trampolines or those good things when we were kids. But if we're trying to find hope for now and the present, relying on things that are already gone can put you into a bad place. It's like, gosh, I miss the good old days. It's like, let's all come together and make the good new ones.
Now that's interesting because that's a perspective game.
Yeah.
So I think in reality, it's like if I think back to the things I love, that idea of making blackberry cobbler, we would go pick the blackberries and we would bring them home. And it was a summertime thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was a real big deal. And we would go through this whole thing. They weren't like the giant Midwest ones though.
Yeah.
They're smaller down here. And almost like dewberries. But like we would do all that and we'd make that cobbler, that feeling of finally getting to have that cobbler after we ate, dinner, and I'd run and played all day. And
yeah.
So I think it's the feeling that is often confused for the moment. So
Sure.
like, I think some people zero in on the exact moment that gave them that feeling and missing the idea of what your point is. I would interpret it as is, shouldn't we be chasing? How do we give those feelings and create those feelings and create those moments?
So really interesting
Not direct
point.
moments, but that vibe.
I'm curious. How curious.
There's no second takes,
to my
folks.
point. I'm curious how good that cobbler was because you picked him and you went out there and you went out into the world and you invested it and you sweat for them berries.
Yeah.
But really it's like where, if we give a kid a cobbler from the store, they're like, it's not my favorite. It's like, I bet if you went out and you picked them, you'd like it a little bit more.
Yeah. So you get the price of labor.
Yeah.
Right. So the labor to pick the berries, because you get stuck. I mean, it's not pleasant.
Yeah.
And you had to walk. We had to walk to get there, and it was like 1.5 miles, and you'd walk back. So 3-mile round trip to pick some berries.
Yeah.
And if someone beat you to them,
you
came home 3 miles with nothing.
Berryless.
And then my mom made it. So it's in my mind, there's an immediate attachment back to someone who cared for me, made me something.
Sure.
Right. So it wasn't even just in a restaurant. There's that secret of love, like that goes into food.
Yeah.
I believe you don't realize you taste it, but you can taste it. So there's all of those components. The reality is let's say we broke nostalgia down, instead of it just being a one-time thing. Well, you should have been there because we slept on trampolines. We looked at fireflies. We ate blackberry cobbler. Let's remove all that. What if we go into the chemical analysis or the numerical now, however you want to break it down. But what if we took a single event and we extracted the great little moments from that? What are all the great little moments that then we can take those, not moments, but the ingredients, right? Emotions, whatever it might be, like love. We need something cooked with love to help the story go, right? So that's one part. Now we need to be, how do we find a great outdoor safe space area, right?
Yeah.
Safety, because you felt safe there.
Yeah.
Do you see where I'm going?
Well, and try and find 1.5 mile stretch that is safe, accessible to go anywhere to do anything that's free,
Right.
It
may not be in the city, which means we got to travel. So there's a little bit of journey involved. Or do you see where I'm going? Is like, if we maybe instead break away from literally trying to recreate the incident, but instead interpret the incident or this or whatever this moment that we think is nostalgic and great and we want to give to someone. If we were to attempt to interpret it, then we pull those individual ingredients out and we make our own.
Yeah.
Right? So we make something, let's say with our kids. We go and we find this thing and we're like, hey, it may not be blackberry cobbler. It could not even be that, but maybe we go find where there's fireflies.
Sure.
And we let them stay up a little extra late.
The hunt for a firefly.
I mean, that's something to be done. Do you get where I'm going?
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because one of my favorite memories growing up with my dad, he was traveling for work and I got to go traveling with him. And it was so cool because we were like driving out and we were in the country and it was late and I was allowed to be awake and all that stuff. And then at one point we had to stop because he had to pee and I had to pee too. Me and my dad are out in this field peeing, looking at the stars. And it sounds odd, but it's also one of the cool. I was like, I feel like I'm doing something,
right?
You know, and that was just a moment that we had. But the it's so interesting. I'm trying to remember what I was just thinking. It kind of hurts when you talk about some of this stuff too, or it does me because it feels like it's escaped us. And I'm really curious. One of our friends, I won't say who, she knows who she is, but we visited her just because I'm going to explain the property a little bit, and I'm not sure she'd be okay with me sharing this in front of everybody. But they live out in the country in Kentucky. Hi, baby. Is that a toy? Yeah. I love you. Are you stomping? But they live out in the country in the hills of Kentucky. And what I loved about, like, once you got on the road, the main road that kind of took you to their house, I was just like, this is freaking where I need to be right now. Right. And the land and rolling. And what's so crazy about it too, I didn't really realize it until just now. Those houses are a lot further apart, but they feel an awful lot closer. Oh, yeah. If that makes any sense. And I wonder what our neighborhoods would be like if there weren't so many walls and blockades and barriers and separation.
But that's a progression going forward because, like, growing up, we didn't have it. I've talked about it before. I grew up next to in a neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right? But it was right adjacent. If you walked for us, like half a mile.
Yeah.
You would cut through somebody's yard and you're in one of the largest city parks. And you're on the trails, and we had forts, and
oh yeah,
we're kids on bikes. We would ride there, and no one would see us again.
Yeah,
until it was time to come home.
There's no phones.
There's no way to communicate. A kid broke his arm, and we dragged him out.
Yeah, because you had to.
Because
there's no other help.
But that doesn't make it better. It just made it different, I guess, is my point. To us, because the feeling that creates is this, we're having a dopamine hit. Nostalgia creates dopamine hits, which is apparently my obsession because I talk about it a lot on the show.
Yeah.
And it generates one of those. But the reality of it is what I want my kids to experience is none of that stuff. I just want them to be able to find themselves, find their own journeys, and have that safety. And for me.
Yeah.
And then there's little nostalgic things. I have a friend. I don't know if he'll listen to this or not, and I hope he doesn't get upset. But I have a friend, and their fourth was like a picture perfect. I guarantee it. I know him well enough. It was like a picture perfect recreation of what he had.
Like their 4th of July.
4th of July celebration.
Okay.
It was a picture perfect recreation of maybe what he had as a kid.
Okay.
Like literally swimming in a lake.
Yeah.
Eating blackberry cobbler. Having ribs, specific way. He's amazingly detailed, pedantic human being. Like he has the ability, wherewithal to pull that off.
Yeah,
which is awesome because now he built that. But my question, and this is philosophical, you can take it as heavy or not. Is he taking away by creating that reality? It's not necessarily the reality that his kid will grow up in. Is he taking away the experience of his kid growing up in reality? You see where I'm going?
Yeah.
And I wonder about this a lot because I don't want to shortchange my girls, but I don't want them to live under my shadow of my nostalgia, which also means I need them to learn good morals. Good morals are timeless.
Yeah. Well, and hi, baby. You have a toy? You look beautiful. I think it's kind of what popped into my head too. Is I think we all know him if you played sports or whatever. It's like, there's that dad that wanted to be a pro baseball player. So you see how hard they're pushing their kid. And it's like, even the other kids are like, gosh, would your dad shut up for like a few seconds? I remember the dad like on my team where it's like, oh, here we go again. It's like so-and-so's up and get ready for the yelling and everything. And, I think your kids should definitely maybe have a say in how you. I think everybody.
Not 100%. Don't get me wrong. You'll understand because you give them too much of a say. I'm just saying that, like, I think some of it is letting them. Like I found my own memories.
Yeah.
I have some with my dad and my mom that were theirs that they handed down. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm not pooing on that by any means. But I was able to find, and so I think about finding those own memories help shape me.
Sure.
So if we were to go so far down this nostalgia path, back to my Indiana Jones thing, reality doesn't match. Indiana Jones, when I was a kid, was Harrison Ford was probably, he's 80, he's 40, he was almost 40 years old. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So let's say 35. He's 35 years old. 35, that's your age.
Yeah.
That's getting to be peak of male ability. You've got good intellect and your body's not falling apart yet.
Sure.
So he's doing all these cool stunts.
Of us.
Yeah,
Some of us.
Fair point. He's doing cool stunts and doing all that stuff. So that Indiana Jones exists. But then he got a little bit older, right? And you do Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
And it's a lot less flying through the air and a lot more heart ripping outs.
Yeah.
And then it's Last Crusade, which is got stunts and stuff, but it's a lot of comedy, a lot of driving in vehicles.
Junior. Sean Connery. Dad, don't call me Junior.
That's a pretty good Harrison Ford.
Was it? Did I just?
Yeah.
Oh, you got good.
Yeah.
Dad, I had it for a second because I felt it too. And I felt that
it was.
The way he grits his teeth is a lot like my dad does when he's saying, Dad, I said, don't call me. I can't recreate it now because I'm nervous.
It's here. We got it once.
Okay, good. Yes.
We got it once.
Junior. What else does he say in the movie?
And then I remembered my Charlemagne.
Remember
that bit where he gets the birds to fly into the plane? Anyway, my point being is like, so now fast
We're just going to get off Sean Connery. Sorry.
He might have been canceled.
Was he? Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about it, so it's not my fault. Well, that's not how the internet works. If he did it and I say anything about Sean Connery.
You can find us on Threads. We're over on Threads now. We're the only...
We're like, get kicked off all the... We're on Threads with a Z, not even the real one.
Yeah, it's a fake one. But anyway, my thing is like now you have somebody who... Harrison Ford's 85 years old.
Yeah.
Right? Or 80-something years old. He can't do all that stuff. So why are you mad? Like the movie happened.
Yeah.
It's reality now. It exists, right? So you can't be mad because he can't perform the way you want him to perform at that. Instead, embrace the idea of like, hey, this is a new part of the journey. This is a new... But there's too many people stuck in that nostalgia space. And that's what I was starting off of something as small as that.
I think it's great too. And I'm sorry I bumped the microphone because I went through this. It's funny. Those were three. And Taylor and I just watched all three for her first time.
The Indiana Jones movies.
She had never seen them. So we watched them in the past few weeks and watched them all again. And it really brought me back. And I was telling her one night we started to watch it and she wasn't like paying enough attention. She was missing some stuff that would come up later. And I was like, we got to do this another night because all of this is part. I'm so obsessed. I know everything. So I'm like, you don't want to miss this. Like when the girl's blinking and it says, I love you or you're sexy or whatever.
Yep.
It's like, that's the beginning of, I feel like that's the first movie and that's the first movie, right?
Yep.
And when they're talking, it's like, that's the beginning of showing his sex appeal.
Right.
Which was a huge part of the film.
But in the movie world, by the way, technically speaking, Temple of Doom happens first.
Oh, yeah.
Then Raiders, then Last Crusade.
Oh, is that the case? Huh. It's
wax, weird. I don't know why
that's
they
a
did.
good old fashioned nostalgia wax.
It's a stupid.
So those three movies obsessed with. Then the one with Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, nobody liked it.
I don't think anybody did. And I remember going to see it and I was like,
because they tried to force that. That was their attempt at nostalgia.
Yeah.
And instead of saying, hey, we accept
Yeah.
They tried to force something new in, and it didn't work. And they say it didn't work because it just didn't hold up. At that point, he was still 75, 76.
Sure.
I'm 45 and stuff hurts now.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, it's like at what point, and I think this kind of circles back to the point that you were making. It's like we can jam those 3 movies that we grew up with down our kids, minds.
Interesting.
But guess what? Those were made for kids that were kids when we were kids.
Yep.
And those were made for
the
adults around us.
Good point.
That were made for adults around us at that time. If any adult is thinking, you can have your passion and your love for Indiana Jones and what it used to be. But I encourage anyone who's got a problem with the Indiana Jones, maybe don't watch the movie and just watch your children. Watch the movie.
Yeah. So that's what happened to me. So that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
Pearl, I don't push any movies on my kids.
Sure.
I literally, because it's very important to me as an art, I want them to find their own, what they connect to as fans or whatever. So I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. Huge. My kids, we can't even say that word anymore. But my kids, I let them go. They have still not watched them. And
really?
In fact,
okay.
The ones that they've not the original trilogy, not the nostalgia versions. They've seen the new ones.
Yeah.
So they like Rey and BB-8.
Oh,
they've never even seen that.
Oh, okay. So they're like in the new ones.
Yeah, and I can't stand some of that stuff because I was like, it's nostalgia murder.
Sure. That reminds me of everyone's all-time favorite Star Wars character,
Kylo Ren.
Misaka Jar Jar Binks.
They gave him redemption.
Misa, is he in a? I haven't seen them. Misaka Jar Jar Binks.
So that's why. So she's laughing.
Sure.
That's why that character exists.
Yeah.
It was for kids.
Oh, man.
And we have to remember that was a kid's movie. And when I saw it, it was 1977. I saw it like probably memory of it, 1981, 1982. And then I remember seeing Empire Strikes Back and the Walkers. And I'm like, this is it, right?
Sure.
But also at that time as a kid growing up, we played guns. That's what we called it.
Oh, yeah.
We ran around with toy guns and we pretended to shoot each other.
Yeah. Not anymore.
Not in this culture.
Not anymore.
No bueno.
It's just actually really happening.
Yeah.
Which is and that's scary. Anybody who's not scared about that, that's scary.
Yeah, and that's not even a statement on pro-gun control, anti-gun control.
No.
That's a statement of fact. It occurs.
It's scary, and it's a lot more real. It just is. And gosh, the world is messed up.
Right. So what I'm saying is that I think if we don't just cling to history, but instead look at it and say, wait a second, there's stuff we can learn from. A lot of times when someone says history repeats itself, they're using it to show a negative.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
It goes back to the same thing. Or like you learn from history. Well, you learn from the history of something negative typically. My hypothesis in this conversation is, why can't we learn from the positive? Why can't we look back at these good things and say, hey, let's take the best of the best and create, this is a G.I. Joe reference that nobody in this whole thing, the ultimate villain. It's stupid. I'm not even going to finish the joke.
No, you should.
No, it's too late. We're gonna make,
no, it's never too late.
It's also Superman 4. We're going to take the best of the... You remember that?
Super what?
Superman 4.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's so terrible. They make Nuclear Man.
Oh. There's a whole debate there.
Really,
how you
I
say
could have made
nuclear?
a Bionic Man, Bionic Woman reference, and it would have made more sense.
I don't even know what those are.
See.
I've heard of them. I don't know what it means.
It's like we have the money,
Is
we
that
can make him
$6
stronger.
million man?
$6 million man, yeah.
Oh, okay. I've heard of that.
He was a
See the
Bionic
one
Man.
that goes, whew, like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah, that's how.
That just reminded me. School of Rock. That's a movie that I feel like brought kids and adults together.
It was pretty good.
Like,
I think the Super Mario Brothers movie did it too.
oh, really?
To a certain
I don't think I've
generation,
seen that.
it's super nostalgia. Not
Really?
the original. I'm talking about the new one that came out with canceled Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt, he got canceled too?
The internet just
Oh, that's
because
weird.
he spoke about his faith.
Oh, like,
It's a dumb cancellation.
Yeah,
It's not a
that
legit
seems silly.
cancellation. It's a
gosh,
silly.
if everybody canceled each other because of their faith, there wouldn't be a whole lot of people
There's
left.
no one
would there?
left. It's literally like we're all done here.
Well, and it's like, what makes everybody okay with doing that to Chris Pratt? What did Chris Pratt do that people think they can do that to him?
I have a great conversation. I can't wait. That's a separate podcast.
Did you know
I'm
I
off on my
met?
button game.
Have I told you the story of me? Some of my community has heard the story. Do you know I met Chris Pratt and didn't know who he was?
Was he delightful to you?
Yes, Jurassic World.
Yeah.
I got cast as I went for the initial, and then I was gonna.
Did they
like,
film that
bumped me.
in Hotlanta or New Orleans?
New Orleans.
Okay.
And so not all of it. They did some across the world and stuff
But people
like
would
that.
be amazed if they knew how much of a movie principal photography is filmed in places like Atlanta.
Yeah.
And then they just get a second unit, shoot a couple of plates in Czechoslovakia.
Yep,
And
and then
bloop, we're in Europe.
Well, and that was when I
Iris
went for
Nebula.
the initial casting of the movie,
Yeah.
I didn't know it was that movie. So I went to New Orleans, and it was under the fake name, or what do you call it? The
working title.
The working title was Ed Tide. And so
right.
I went over there and went to the casting office, and there were like tons of casting people. Hi, baby. You're beautiful. I went to the casting office, and there's tons of people going through there. And I see this lady get delivered a sandwich like in the back corner. And I was like, I don't know who that is, but she just got delivered a sandwich, and she's trying to hide right now. So Ron Burgundy, like our voice and modulation problems, I was like, I'm going to talk oddly loud. So she's like, who is this guy talking? And I get her attention. So I'm like, hello, my name is Ed. How are you? Like really loud in the office. Well, she looks up from her thing, and I wore my suit and like everything for this. So she comes over and she's like, yeah, we need you in this. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And she's like, put him in this or whatever. So whatever group or whatever. So I end up coming home, and I'm going to go shoot. And I was told, you're going to play an attorney in the movie. And I'm on the way to New Orleans, and my phone rings, and I'm like, I'm getting cut right now before I even get here. I answer the phone, and they're like, are you on your way? And I said, yes. And they're like, you know what movie this is, right? And I was like, Ebb Tide. And they're like, it's the new Jurassic Park. And I was like, shut the fuck up. Like, and they're like, no, we're serious. I was like, am I still going to be in it? And they're like, yeah, we're making sure you're coming. So they had all these, like, I had to have passcodes and certain images on my phone to get in. And then they put, I still have the stickers, Drew, the serial stickers.
That cover up your cameras.
Yeah. If you peel them, and then they're like, if you take these off, those are Universal's attorneys. And they had attorneys sitting with people for the cameras. And it was the old Six Flags, I think it was, in New Orleans.
The Jazzland.
Yep. And so on one side of it, it just looked like there were dogs and animals running like wild animals running all around there. And it looked like the back of a construction site. And I went through all this thing and a tunnel, and I stepped out into the light I have goosebumps right now.
Unreal.
And I saw the T-Rex bones like thing. I was in Jurassic Park, and I started crying. And it was incredible. And long story short, we were doing one of the scenes where the dinosaurs, the pterodactyls, are coming and stuff like this. And I'm sitting there, and I'm sick of it because I'm all done up in a suit and a tie. It's 110 degrees down there, and I've been running from pterodactyls. It lost its cool after 6 hours.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, and I'm pissed off, and I'm frustrated, and some guy sits down next to me. And I was like, what's up? And I'm miserable. And he's like, what's up, man? And I was like, not much. How many days are you working on this thing? And he's like, most of them. And I was like, cool. He's like, how about you? And I was like, 3 days or whatever. And he's like, cool. And just small talk and everything like that. And there, somebody comes around the corner, and they're like, Chris, we're ready for you. He's like, okay, nice to meet you. Stands up and leaves. Then everybody came over to me. They're like, what'd he say? And I was like, what'd who say? They're like, Chris Pratt. And I was like, who's Chris Pratt? I still didn't know. And they're like, he's the star of the movie. I was like, I have never seen him in my life because I never watched Parks and Recreation. They're like, you don't watch Parks and Recreation? I was like, that sounds like a city municipal department, not a television show. I had never even heard, like I had heard of it, but I never watched it. So I had no idea. And then it turns out he was the star. And my scenes got cut.
Oh,
Again.
that's like a theme on the show. I feel like every episode there's another my scenes got cut story.
It might be a theme in my. I don't even know if we can call it acting.
Speaking of-
it's cut.
I just cut to black on you just so that
Oh, you got me.
just for fun. I'm sorry we had to cut the following scenes from your own podcast.
Oh,
sir.
that's funny.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because people nostalgia also influences opinion and it makes it because there's a memory attached, sometimes a core memory. So even like with Pratt, I think like I have fond memories of Chris Pratt being Andy and being this doofus from Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
So I will always have a loyalty to him until he does something really heinous.
Yeah.
But like he hunts. Well, I mean, I don't, but I grew up around hunting, so it's not something that offends me.
Yeah.
Personally, he eats what he hunts, so that makes it even more awesome for me.
Sure.
And he has faith, and I have faith, and so I see it as this thing of like, all right, well, I knew him, I have a nostalgic connection to him. Same thing.
Yeah.
For other people that may not have that, it's very easy to just go the other direction with anything. Sports, good God, is it rampant in sports?
Yeah.
It also seems to be when, at least in my experience, it also seems to be when I watch certain family members, just doesn't matter who, tell my wife how to potentially raise our children.
Ooh.
You get a little nostalgia battle, baby.
Mm-hmm.
You get the.
It made my
I know,
jaw
'cause
clench.
It's like that's why I was skirting around. I was like, I don't want to say it too loud. I
Yeah.
might get sniped.
Well, and it's crazy too. And you spoke about hunting too. I think there was a power in hunting for those blackberries.
Yeah.
I think wanting to hunt something, whether that's hope or berries or animals or whatever, people naturally want to hunt and search for something better. I think it would be, and I think it's good that you mentioned faith too, because I really honestly can't imagine living in this world in this day and age without having faith.
Yeah.
Or my faith.
Right.
And I think you want to, people, if they're really struggling right now, find faith in something. That would be a big recommendation, and it's got to be bigger than yourself. And it can be, we talked about this before, it can be God, it can be a deity, it could be a quote or a book or whatever, but you have to, gosh, life is better having it. I can tell you that.
Sure. For sure. And what's interesting is it's timeless.
Sure.
The thing about faith is once you put your faith in something, like what I mean by timeless is like, typically speaking, faith is timeless, not necessarily what you put your faith in, but faith as a concept is timeless. So when you have something, whatever it is, it may change over time.
Sure.
But the idea of faith never goes away. This feeling you get by like, I believe in this and I connect to it, that's timeless. That never fades.
Yeah.
It may shift your opinion, your perspective. Lots of things may shift over time. My perspective of my own faith with God, I believe in that. Mm-hmm. Like I grew up in knowing some about like Judaism and then Christianity and then back to Judaism and then, my own sort of journey. But that journey, my faith never changed. My faith was always there. It was always applied to something.
Sure.
But what it was applied to and how I applied it might have been, that's fluid, right?
Yeah.
And we have to, I think a lot of times we forget that kind of stuff. Like we lose, not us, but the world sometimes loses the idea that faith is timeless, right? But it's also fluid, like time.
Yeah. Well, and where can we, I think that's an important thing too, and a good point too. Faith doesn't have to be a religious thing.
Right.
It's funny because it's like you have faith in the chair that you sat down in.
I have faith in gravity because I don't understand it.
It's really quite simple.
Yeah, I get you.
I'm kidding. What if it just stood there?
Yeah.
And I had this trick ready the whole time.
And it was a straight Matrix play, and you'd been setting this up for since Ether. This is how much of a con man you are. It goes all the way back to Ether. Like one day I'm going to hold up a coreless bullet, and I'm going to hold it, and it's going to just sit there on a podcast. I've been working this angle forever. We've all been played, folks. We've all been played. Everyone here. I just need you to know. Played. We've all been played by Ed Dudez.
Little did he know, the man Hiding in that dude's body was Sean Connery. Sean.
Yeah, you kind of sound like Sean Connery from the movie Dragonheart. Do you know this movie?
Dragonheart? I don't know that movie.
He played a cartoon dragon.
A cartoon dragon.
Yeah, it wasn't very good CG back then.
One of my favorite movies that he is in is First Night. Have you seen that?
Have you seen that?
First Night. It's a romance. It's like a lovey-dovey Richard Gere. Oh gosh, it's good.
Oh yeah,
Richard Gere.
He
it's
plays
a really
Lancelot.
Yes. You, Sir Lancelot, will not sleep with my wife. I don't think he actually says that, but that he kind of ends up on the king. Like Richard Gere, handsome, chiseled, strong, knight. Bad decision, bro.
Yeah. All I think about when I hear the name Lancelot was a show I saw as a kid. It was called Lancelot Link, Secret Chimp.
Lancelot Link?
Yeah, and he was a monkey detective. But it was a live actions back in that day, and they had the monkey doing.
Very interesting.
He was dressed in a little. He was like, "Hey," he did the gumshoe voice.
Hey,
what was that? Get Smart.
Yeah?
It was Get Smart.
Get Smart. Ooh, I've heard of that. Is that Inspector Gadget kind of Get Smart?
Get Smart was way before that.
Oh.
Get Smart was hilarious. It was Get Smart is absolutely one of the. As a kid, I thought it was funny. As an adult, it holds up. But nostalgia, same thing.
Yeah,
because it was from the 60s.
Well, don't we think, and to everyone, again, and circling back to Indiana Jones, it's like you realize you might not like it right now, but guess what? Your parents didn't like everything you liked when you were a kid either. And guess what? They're going to put their kids through the same exact thing you're doing, and those are becoming their classics.
So Mr. Pickles was
here
kind
we go.
of negative on Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And I was like, you haven't seen it. And he was like, I know, but I mean, it's just bad. And I was like, well, hold on, Mr. Pickles. I love you. So we have like I told you, first episode, we have raw conversations.
Sure.
I was like, I took my girls to see that. Pearl put on a little Indiana Jones hat because we dressed her up as that as a baby a long time ago.
Yeah.
It holds a special place in me and Sarah. We walked out to the Raiders theme at our wedding.
That's so
processional,
cool.
whatever it is when you're done. Someone played it on strings or whatever. We had a violin quartet or something.
Damn.
Anyway, big part of our lives. So Pearl doesn't know that part, but she just loved it. So she dressed up like Indiana Jones. She had a little fedora on and little boots and stuff, and she was all in. Well, I say to Mr. Pickles, I said, look, I have no problem taking my kids to see it because they wanted to see that movie, right? And I checked to make sure it was clean from the amount of violence and all that stuff.
Sure.
And it was good enough for them. My dad took me to see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie. And they might have even taken me to see the second one that stars Vanilla Ice.
Oh,
with the song "Go Ninja, Go Ninja, Go." So
go Ninja, Go Ninja, Go! Go Ninja, Go Ninja, Go! Yeah, wow.
So my point is, to your point, that's 100% reality.
Collaborate and listen. Ice back with a brand new invention. Something grabs a hold of me tightly, flow like a harpoon daily and nightly. Will it ever stop? Yo, I don't know. Check out my lights. Is that it? And I'll flow to the extreme. I rock a mic like a vandal. Light up the stage and wax the chump like a candle. AG1. Sorry, I should have had to.
Sorry. You know what I was thinking about earlier today? Nothing to do with anything because that's how the show works. I was thinking about if you were able to, because I think I'm going to talk about this, and you can get mad at me later.
Okay.
I think you are extremely talented as a musician.
Oh, thank you.
I think you need to I think there's something there that is unexplored in you, but once it goes, it's going to go. And my favorite thing would be if you could find a way, because I've heard you make these emotionally powerful songs.
Thank you.
I get to preview them. One day the world will, and they're going to love it too.
Oh yeah.
If you could find a way to make that same emotionally, not with Vanilla Ice, Ice Baby.
Sure.
But there are some rap songs out there that are heavy.
Oh yeah.
And if you could find a way to interpret those into like your style of doing them, a cover of one of those,
like cinematic ballad type
dude,
stuff.
It would destroy. Yeah. I mean, there's stuff from like Run DMC that's got weight behind it because it's so culturally deep. They're like classic stuff. And the reason I say those is because some of the music now, to me, I listen to it and I'm like, it doesn't vibe with me.
Yeah.
Because I grew up in, not circling back to our whole topic, but I grew up in when rap was born.
Sure.
And so there was a lot of pressure put on rappers back then. So a lot of those songs are as raw as it possibly. I mean, even if you took a Ice Cube or NWA song.
Yeah.
Not F the Police. That's the wrong one. But
sure.
Like, You know what I'm saying?
Well, and that's their art, you know, like, and that's the interesting thing too. It's like, well, I don't like the rap nowadays because it's not like, if I say stuff like that, I sound like an old person.
Yeah.
Which is like, rap nowadays isn't supposed to sound like.
But it's all a progression.
It's all a progression, and it's all moving forward. It's challenging the system. All music is somebody. One of my comments, and I have a hard time doing music in front of people, and I've talked to you about that. I've talked.
That's why I just wanted to go through it in the bus now.
Yeah, I get real anxious about it for a lot of reasons, but the one of the comments that I saw was like, no, just hell no, quit with all the electronic stuff. We just want to hear your voice. What that person didn't know, what that person doesn't know is that there's 11 vocal tracks on the cover of Last Resort that I did. 10 of them are my fucking voice. Right. The one that sounds like this isn't me, because that's not how humans sound, but I recorded all other 10 vocals and I laid it and edited it on top of myself. And believe it or not, in 2023, some electronics are needed to make music. In fact, almost every song you've ever heard, electronics have been involved in some way. There aren't many people who can, Johnny Cash's cover, and this is, a lot of people mix this one up. I know you know, but a lot of people think Hurt was a Johnny Cash song that Nine Inch Nails covered.
Right. It's the other way around.
Hurt was a Nine Inch Nails song that Johnny Cash covered,
yeah.
And you don't hear that kind of grit in people's voice, and
but that's a great example though, where that song went from
"Hi baby, yeah, you're so cute."
That song went from being like this industrial, is what we used to call it in the day, this industrial, dark sort of, for me, pardon the expression, forgettable. The song "Hurt" by Nine Inch Nails, this is where I get canceled in the comments, was forgettable.
This might hurt a little bit.
Johnny Cash's version is legendary. Because you can feel, I didn't feel Trent Reznor's pain.
Yeah.
I can listen to Gooses right now. I can listen to one note of "Hurt" by Johnny Cash and I feel every bit of pain that man's ever carried in his life.
Yes.
Because it's raw. That is where it's incredible to me. So sometimes these covers are crucial.
Sure.
Because an artist wrote something that in the moment was about maybe like breaking up with a girlfriend, but Johnny Cash wasn't about breaking up with a girlfriend. That was about all the sins that he's committed over time, whatever.
Sure. And I think if you look back, I don't know, Trent Reznor's brilliant, by the way, and writes and produces, genius, obviously. But it's like, when I hear that song, I don't have Nine Inch Nails version on my Spotify.
Right.
I have Johnny Cash's version.
Yep.
I bet if you go on Trent Reznor's, I bet if you look for Trent Reznor's comments on the Johnny Cash, I bet you Trent Reznor himself somewhere is like, man, because I'm especially with people who write songs, people who cover songs, it's like, I have a hard time saying a cover is better than the first song. Whether I like it more or not is a different thing. But whether it's a better version, that song, I bet you Trent, somewhere in his soul, if he hasn't said it, knows that that's a better song than the song he made.
Yeah, but at the same time, he wrote the song.
He wrote it. It's like, that's beautiful. He directed it. It's better than it being yours.
It's stupid.
It's an effing legend.
There is a version of 99 Problems, the Jay-Z song, by a guy named Hugo.
If you having girl problems, I feel bad for you, son. I got 99 problems and a bitch ain't one. Boom.
It is so good. Look, I got gooses from you doing it.
Oh, yeah.
That was good. See, y'all got his voice. You heard his voice. I'm telling you, it's good.
Well,
that was raw, unfiltered.
That was unfiltered. How's that for electronics?
Pure voice.
Now I could do it. Look. I got if you have a girl problem. Kermit the Frog does.
So there's a podcast called Smartless that I listen to, and on there's a gag they came up with is like they do this game where it's like sing for real. That's what it's called. Sing for real. So you can't, because I can gag a Jack Black and just do my whole like peaches. I can do that. I can do the Jack Black thing. But sing for real.
Yeah.
And you just sang for real.
Oh well.
That's a little Hugo, but still.
So that was probably that guy sings high. If you have a girl problem, up your baby son, I got 99 problems and bitch ain't one. That's the what's that? I don't know who's got Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
Like Eddie Vedder. Oh hey, salami.
I can't listen to Pearl Jam anymore.
No,
that's where nostalgia got me. I listen to it and I don't like it. Now, I also hate nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
I have a tough time. I don't know if it's like individual pains of my past, but if there's certain media that connects to me, like music wise,
triggers.
it's only music. It's emotional because music is emotion.
Yeah.
I get uncomfortable and I won't live in it.
Yeah, that makes
I
sense.
exfil out of it very quickly.
There's plenty of that that's bad too. Bad nostalgia. You know?
Yeah. So I don't go back and listen to a lot of, like, I don't live in the 90s. I will go whatever plays. The only thing I learned today about myself, I do a lot of spending more time with you in your community I think about things a little bit differently. It's like,
sure.
And it helped me on my journey for understanding. So I listen to a lot of Afro soul music. Budos Band is one of the artists I really love.
Okay.
This is all stuff that sounds like 1980s cop show.
Yeah.
It sounds like the soundtrack of Chips.
Yeah.
For anybody.
Yeah.
But I love it. And I have records of it all through here. Like all my records down here, a lot of them are that stuff. And then I realized I love that music, not because it's old. Budos is a new band. It's because it reminds me of something I loved as a kid.
Sure.
Which was those cop shows. I loved Chips. I loved Hunter. All these, and they all had that, hi hat. They're playing off the hi hat. There's like a boom, bing, bing, boom, boom, and that kind of vibe.
Wham, pow, whammy.
Well, it was
That
all
was
that
Batman,
vibe.
but
yeah. But so then I realized like some of the music that I'm drawn to is creating this nostalgic effect in me, but it's not directly nostalgia. It's what I was saying earlier. It's the ingredient. It's the happiness that I got as a kid watching those shows. It was giving me that little hit of happiness of my youth without it going back in time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people too. If I didn't have music in my life, and I was pushed extraordinarily hard.
Yeah.
And, I guess some kids like do sports and are good at sports. I happen to be pushed very hard in music and did music to so much that I hated it for a long time, or at least performing it or whatever. But if I didn't have music or like music in bad times or anything, it's like I probably wouldn't be here. Like at certain points in my life, that's all I had.
Yeah.
Was music and sound, and you can close your eyes and you can hear the music, or you can play music or create it. It's like, think of your favorite movie, whatever that is, or your 5 favorite movies. Kill all the music in it and tell me how good the movie is.
Yeah, that's right.
John Williams.
Unless one of them is No Country for Old Men that has no music.
There's no music in.
You've never seen it.
I have seen it.
There's not a single bit of score.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's mind blowing. It's a risk. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's a great concept.
See, and I like that. Yeah, I like that.
But it's the absence of that creates that new level of nostalgia, new level of emotional connection.
Sure.
Is that you pull that music away. That's the familiar. You strip the familiar and you get something. It is epic level art. If you haven't had it, it's heavy. It's a heavy movie.
Yeah.
It's dense.
Well, and kudos to the community community and my friend Steven Stanley. Steven Stanley is one of the most talented. If you watch like any of the videos I've walked in my backyard and pointed for charity, or a lot of the stuff, Lean on Me, his cover of Lean on Me.
Oh yeah, it's good.
And so many people would say you shouldn't redo, don't take a song like that and redo it. Steven Stanley made that song again.
Yeah.
And he did that. And I think that's kind of circling back to everything we talked about. Last Resort, Papa Roach did the song Angst.
Yeah.
I remember a certain age and like, cut my life into pieces. And then I got to say the F word too. So that was fun. But then hearing this ballad cover that Falling in Reverse did, it's like, wow, that gave it completely new meaning. And when I was done with it, it left me wanting more, which is why I covered it. And I put, I wanted people to have, it's like, if you're struggling with these thoughts or whatever, I want you to know I'm proud of you. And if you need help, there is help out there. So that was I felt it was important. And it's like, progression is good. Change. We're supposed to, media, if it bleeds, it leads.
Yep.
They run negative news
Yeah.
all the time. If there's one real bad story and there's 5 good ones, the bad story is going to get the airtime. And I think that if that's what we consume all the time, and we're not out with our neighbors, or we're not out meeting
Right.
people, or we're not at dinner, or we're not having communion in some way, or a community, then yeah, you're probably screwed. Like your mindset's going to be screwed, and it's going to be scary, and it's going to suck. But I think we need to turn off the damn TV. You think a bunch of these media folks get home and they turn on the news?
Yeah, that's the thing that's the funniest.
I bet they don't even allow it in their house.
Right.
It's like all these people. I watched this thing on the social. It's called The Social Dilemma or something like that, where it's all these old social media execs that they're like, so are you letting your kids on social media? They're like, no.
Yeah.
No, that's awful, and that's scary. But the reality is a lot of them are going to be on it. And I posted that video where it's like, I hope everybody knows that their kids are going to end up with their legacy accounts and see everything that they ever did. And I actually saw a comment on a video I did about it, and somebody's like, no, my kids won't see it. I left it to my sister. It's like, I think you're missing the point.
Yeah.
That's not the point.
Yeah.
I get, okay, you're leaving it to you. Okay, so your sister's going to see everything you did.
And then they'll tell somebody.
And then what happens when your sister and leaves your it's not the point. We just need to.
I think it's one of those things of, I think when we find ourselves feeling nostalgic, that's great.
Yes.
Enjoy the memory. Enjoy the write-off of it. But I think when we use nostalgia to suddenly be a frame that says everything has to fall within this, then you're shortchanging not only yourself, but anybody else that would have that experience with you. Make a new experience. That's what's amazing to me. You can take, like I said earlier, you can take elements from it. Like, let's go find blackberries and make a cobbler together.
Yeah.
It may not be the same way I did it, but let's go make a cobbler.
You might have to do it at Publix and do a little treasure hunt, or the grocery store.
You can make it that way,
make
but
it
you
cool.
find it a way. And I think that's the key is like, we have a choice and everything is choice.
Sure.
And if we choose, we said it earlier, and I think it's a great point, and you just brought it up again. If we all just took 1% of our time and made it about goodness.
Sure.
And or what we said originally was being 1% friendlier.
Yeah.
We're back to that conversation, changing the world that way. You have any final thoughts? Because this is how this show goes.
Yeah. So
Ed's final thoughts.
I would
Brought
like
to you
to
by
challenge
AG1.
anybody that's watching or whatever to some sort of challenge that they can do in the next few days, and maybe come back to the comment section. One, because that'll help us see that, and that'll be really good. And then that might help somebody else who's watching it too.
Brilliant.
They can see that comment. It's like, what did you do for yourself that, I'm trying to think of an easy way to put it, reminded you of the good old days? Let's say you go get that little bag of Reese's Pieces that was from the movie theater that was $17 or whatever it was,
Right.
and it was only half full, but at least there were a ton in there. It's like, have a movie night to remind you that the future is bright. There is brightness in the future.
Right.
And make yourself feel like you're in the past and part of the good new days. One of my friends, his name's Owen Pye. I haven't talked to Owen in forever, but he's a musician and just awesome. But when I was younger, it was a group of our friends, and I couldn't get somebody to do something I really wanted them to do. And it wasn't a bad thing. It wasn't like a peer pressure situation. And he's like, I can beat anybody. And I was like, what? And Owen's like, you can get anybody to do anything you want if you say a few simple words ahead of time, if they care about you at all. And I'm like, okay, what is it? And he's like, so you present your question. It's like, Drew, I want you to come out with me tonight. We're going to a concert. Ed, I got all these things going on. I can't do it. Drew, please. Ed, I got work tomorrow. I hate to say this right now. For the good old days.
Yeah. Oh,
Let's go out. Do it for the good old days.
Wow.
In memory of the good old days. And he told me that, and I was like, holy shit. Because when you put that, it's like our good old days. I know exactly where we were. I have goosebumps right now thinking about it, because I know exactly where we were. The good old days. I told Drew this, and he'll hopefully you're okay with this, but last night after we got done watching the podcast and doing our thing, I had Taylor help me find the safe I got from my friend when I was a kid, and I have some of my first bank account and some quarters I used to collect, and old coins and $2 bills and something from my great grandfather who was a matador in Saltillo, Mexico, or around there. I have a lot of treasured things in there. My old movie stubs. And
Yeah.
Drew's like, I read some of them to
They were
Drew,
rough.
and
They
he's
were
like,
rough.
"Why'd you go see this movie?" And I was like, "Well, I wasn't really there for the movie. I
Yep.
was more there for the company." But one of those things is from where Drew and I first met on a project that you had me on, and it was the ticket.
Yeah.
You know, and that's our good old, like, that went in my box.
Yeah.
That sounds weird, but that sorry. Yeah, but yeah, for the good old days. It'd be hard to, if you called me and you're like, "Ed, I really need you to come and do this."
Yeah.
Okay, for the good old days.
For the good old days.
I'm like, "Shit." Okay. So,
Well,
yeah.
I think the only thing left to be said here, aside from you can also listen to this podcast on all your favorite podcast platforms, is like, subscribe, and share for the good old days.
Let's go.